Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in the midst of one of the greatest weeks in the sports calendar. Of course, this is Super Bowl week here in the United States of America. And everybody, not only here in the USA, but we'll be watching worldwide because it's literally the biggest game of the year. Every year, everybody stops and watches the Super Bowl. Of course, if you've been laying under a rock or haven't gotten out much due to the snow that's been crushing us here in the Eastern Seaboard over the past week. The Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks are going to be playing this Sunday, and it's going to be a wonderful matchup. Although both teams were long shots coming into this season to make the Super Bowl, that's kind of what's been the greatness of this NFL season. There has been parity throughout. There's been teams losing that we didn't think that was going to lose, teams winning that we didn't think was going to win, and it's been really excellent. Surprisingly, the normal teams that we normally see in the playoffs, the Bills, the Ravens, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs, either did not make it or was eliminated early. This year, they didn't make it at all, so it was Josh Allen's trophy to lose, considering he was the MVP last year. At least that was the narrative going into this season. Came up short again. Subsequently, they fired their head coach, elevated their offensive coordinator. We'll see if Josh Allen gets it done or if he has another MVP-like season and falls short once again. But enough about him. He's not playing Sunday. We're talking Pats and Seahawks. Boy, oh boy, man. Just for the Seahawks to get here, man, I'll reiterate this again and again and again. I was completely wrong about this Seahawks team coming into this season. I thought this was a 4-5 win ball club, considering their defense I estimated their defense would have took it a step back. It took a step forward. JSN took a huge leap forward and ended up leading the league in receiving yards with well over 1,700, had a boatload of touchdowns to go with it, and just propelled this team to excellence. Phenomenal. Sam Darnold did not revert back into pumpkin mode or the bum that we thought he was when he was playing for the New York Jets or anyone else that he, followed outside of Minnesota. He's been excellent. And that's really the first point that I want to make is once Sam Darnold has had stability in his career outside of New York Jets, Carolina, and at some points with San Francisco, with Kyle Shanahan, when he's had stability, he's been great. I mean, you won 14 games with Minnesota. They let you go. That's why their GM got fired this offseason for J.J. McCarthy. But that's, story for another day. Let me stay on point. Sam Darnold has been excellent when it comes to being an NFL quarterback with a high-profile receiver on the outside and an excellent defense behind him and an even better run game. When he's had the stability, he's been excellent. Point blank, period. Sam Darnold deserves to be here, and it's about time we start giving him the recognition that he deserves because he certainly can walk away with the MVP trophy after this game. There is no way, as of right now, that I'm saying that Sam Darnold reverts back to his old self because that second Rams game, not this past playoff game, but the one that went into overtime in the regular season, showed me a lot, not only about Sam Darnold, but this Seattle team in general. They are extremely resilient. They are tough defensively, and I mean tough. And even if you find a way to take away their best weapon in Jackson Smith and Jigba, they're going to find a way to force feed him the ball, and he will make an impact on the game regardless of what your defensive scheme is going to be. He is a top-notch playmaker in this league, and whether that's in the slot or outside, he's been excellent at either position. He led the league outside in receiving yards this year. Last year, he led the league in receiving yards from the slot last year. Capital D, capital A, capital W, capital G. The guy's a dog, straight up and down like that. Seattle has been phenomenal this year. Listen, they've smothered people with their defense. Tariq Woolen has been excellent on the outside. Their special teams has been awesome as well. Ever since the addition of Raheed Shaheed, they've been going to the moon. Not only was he, a second or third option in the receiving game, he was allowed you to do some of those gadget plays that we saw that worked so well in the rounds, but also the special teams, returning kicks, returning punts, straight up kicking ass in special teams. People don't realize that this special teams is such a crucial part to NFL because not only you can turn a game on its head with turnovers, fumbles, or onside kicks and that nature, but like you can totally flip the game on its head with field position, especially if there's a game like this that we may see a lack of scoring in either half. Shaheed could be an X factor in this game coming up Sunday, and a serious one at that. All right, picking back up on the Seahawks. They've had, like I said, the top defense all year. JSN has been going crazy. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about Kenneth Walker, who has not taken a step back since Charbonnet tore his ACL in this playoff run. He's picked up the slack, and I think he'll have not only a big game on the ground to help propel the Seattle team to victory, but he's going to have some big catches in here. I can see some screen work given to him. And of course, this offensive coordinator wants to get him involved in the passing game. And he's got to improve, though, at his pass blocking ability. That's the reason that Charbonnet was able to get on the field as much as he did. Kenneth Walker is an excellent runner, but in pass protection, he struggles some. So if he's not in pass protection, you got to get him out running routes because he is a great pass catcher as well out of the backfield. With a couple blockers in front, you can really break a hole in this Patriots defense. Now, people have been hammering when it comes to the betting lines, his under here, because this Patriots defense is stout against the run, while subsequently betting the over on his receiving line. I'm kind of in agreement there. That may happen. That is a likely good betting line. I'm going to get into some more of those betting lines here at the end of the segment, but I just want to kind of break down unit by unit, team by team, of how I think this game is going to go. Seahawks have been great. Like I said, I've been totally underestimating them all year, but can they prove me wrong for one more game and win this championship? We'll see. It's going to be a tough out with the Patriots because momentum isn't really on the Patriots side right now. First of all, they came in with the league's easiest schedule versus their opponent, according to win percentage from the following season. All of the teams that they faced in the regular season, except for the Jets and Bengals, all of the other teams that they faced in the regular season, head coaches got fired. That's how easy their schedule was this season. I'll say it again. All of the teams that they faced in this regular season, except the Jets and the Bengals, who decided to retain their coaches, all of the other teams that they faced in the regular season, head coaches got fired this offseason. So strength of schedule did help them in the regular season to propel them to the playoff. You bring in Vrabel. You bring in a plethora of defensive free agents, Milton Williams, Harold Landry, others. You already have a stout cornerback in Christian Gonzalez. You sign Ramondre Stevenson to a long-term deal. You draft Trevion Henderson. You bring back Josh McDaniels, who is the offensive coordinator and guru for this Pats team and has led them to all of their Super Bowls in the past as offensive coordinator, who really knows how to develop a young quarterback and has coached Drake May to MVP status. We will know later on tonight with the NFL honors being recorded as I speak, who will walk away with the MVP this year. And it's likely that Drake May will be second in the voting. Okay. That's how we go from a four-win team last year to a 4-loss team this year. Very quickly, as Mike Vrabel and his staff turn things around there in New England. You combine that with an easy schedule, an even easier division to win, and a championship game on the road against a backup quarterback in weather. Talk about adversity. The Patriots really haven't had any this year. And granted, with that easy schedule, they almost let some of those games slip, a la to Miami and the Atlanta Falcons that they almost lost at home if it wasn't for a coaching mishap on the other side. Another reason why people are heavily betting on Seattle, who has beaten good teams up to this point, the Rams twice, for example. Now, with that being said, I don't think the Patriots are going to get blown out of the water here. I don't see that. Although we did have a blowout last year where Kansas City got smacked in the mouth by Philadelphia. And it created one of the most boring Super Bowls that I have witnessed in my life to date. I don't think we get a game like that this year. I think we get a fun, competitive game to which the Patriots ultimately fall short in the end. I'm going to get to game flow again in a second. I just want to make sure I run down all of what I wanted to say about the Patriots here. Fun fact, win or lose, Patriots were going to set a Super Bowl record here this year. If they lose, they'll be the losingest team in the Super Bowl era. If they win, it'll be the complete opposite. They will surpass the Pittsburgh Steelers for most Super Bowls all time. Like I referred to earlier, this is Josh McDaniels' 10th Super Bowl as a coach or coordinator. You can't tell me that type of preparation and experience doesn't help the Patriots. And it will extensively help the quarterback of the Patriots and Drake May. As long as May and McDaniels are on the same page, they'll be fine offensively. And Vrabel is going to have the defense ready to go. I think that Vrabel's got a plethora of different looks for Sam Darnold in this Super Bowl game coming up this weekend that he may revert back to seeing ghosts at some point in this season. I hate to bring that up because I feel like he's outplayed that since then. ESPN has taken that game and run with it, or that saying and run with it. I think this is going to be a really good game. Here's how I think the game flow goes, and then I'm going to get into a unit by unit breakdown of who I think is better, and then I'll give you some of my best bets, and we'll get the hell up out of here. I'm going to make this really quick. Here's how I think the game flow is going to go. I think Seattle gets the ball first. They jump out ahead on a quick 6 from a run-heavy drive from Kenneth Walker. Maybe he scores first. Maybe JSN in the red zone. Patriots come back. They answer with a field goal. A lot of back and forth, punt, punt, punt. Seattle gets a late field goal to end the half. First half goes under. 10-3, 13-10 type of first half. Then the adjustments get made. Then the edges figured out in terms of how they get an edge on their opponents. And then the scoring goes up. Playbook gets opened up. The passing attack gets a little bit heavier in the second half. I think Seattle gets another touchdown and field goal in the second half. But McDaniel starts to open up this playbook, maybe a trick play or two. We saw a flea flicker against Denver in the championship game, and that was one of the huge plays, one of 2 huge plays that they got in that game that ultimately led to a field goal. So in the second half, McDaniels opens up this playbook. We get some down the field passing attack, maybe some play action, Matt Collins over the top. You never know, Diggs. They surge back. But with time left on the clock, Sam Darnold either orchestrates a game-winning field goal drive or the Seattle defense makes a clutch stop to help solidify a win and a Super Bowl victory for the Seahawks. That's how I see this game flow going. Come back by the Patriots, but they fall short. It's really that simple. Let's go unit by unit. I'll make that really quick of who I think is better, and I'll let you make that assessment, and I'll give you my game picks and who do I have. Let's start with the quarterbacks, man. Sam Darnold, of course. I talked about his stability now with the Seattle Seahawks. Offensive line has been a top half offensive line. The run game has been good. And of course, he's got, an up and coming legendary receiver in JSN, but also has a pretty decent one on the other side in Cooper Kupp. Let's not forget that this guy was a Triple Crown winner just, 3 or 4 seasons ago and probably deserves more targets than what he's getting. He's lacked some separation, but he can still get the job done in the short to intermediate areas. Drake May, on the other hand, more than likely he's going to be second in MVP voting this year. Great job. I think that his stats may have been slightly inflated due to their easy schedule. But in comparing Darnold and May as the quarterbacks here in the Super Bowl, I'm going to call that a wash. Let's call that a tie and move on. The receiving core. There's Stephon Diggs, and then there's a huge drop-off between the next receiver. Kayshon Boutte, Matt Collins. Would you rather have those guys? Or would you rather have a guy who led the league in receiving, a guy another guy who's led the league in receiving and catches and touchdowns on the other side. Although it may be over the hill a little bit, but can still dominate his matchup from week to week. The receiving core goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Tight ends, I'm inclined to lean towards the Patriots. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper have gotten more work this season and more targets and more looks and more touchdowns than A.J. Barner and Jake Boa. Quite frankly, I just trust those names on the Patriots a lot more because I've seen them do it a lot better and for a lot longer. Tight ends, I'm leaning Patriots. This offensive line for the Patriots has been revamped. Run game has also been pretty good for the most part, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Seattle's offensive line, who has not only spearheaded this dual running back combo of Walker and Charbonnet, who won't be playing, unfortunately, because he tore his ACL, and has protected Darnold pretty well throughout the majority of the season. So I'm going to give the edge on the offensive line, slight edge, to Seattle as well. Now, backs. I honestly think with Charbonnet going down, unfortunately, I have to give the edge to the New England Patriots. Only reason. Charbonnet is an excellent pass blocker, and he's great in the red zone. Almost too great because he's stealing work from Kenneth Walker. It seems like he gets you down there. Charbonnet comes in, closes out the drive. From a fantasy points perspective and a betting perspective, it gets a little frustrating. But nonetheless, this twin-headed monster in Ramondre Stevenson, who they're paying, their rookie running back, Travion Henderson, who they selected top of the second round, evaluated as a first-round talent, 900 yards, 9 touchdowns for Henderson this year. Ramondre also struggled with a fumbling problem. Probably would have seen more of the bulk of the work if he wasn't fumbling so much throughout the early portion of the season. Then got hurt in the latter part, but was still very good. There's a reason why they paid him. I'm giving the edge to the running backs, to the Patriots, only because Charbonnet went down and won't be playing in this game. Now on the defensive side of the ball, you got some crazy guys on both sides of defense. Like I said, New England has retooled this defense. You bring in Milton Williams over from the Super Bowl champions. You bring in you bring in Landry from the Titans. Great edge rusher. He's also been on the injury report this week, so you want to double check that before game time Sunday. But nonetheless, Seattle is still head and shoulders with their front seven above this. I wouldn't say head and shoulders, but it's still clearly better. Leonard Williams has been all pro this year. Rightfully so. He's been a havoc in the middle of their defensive line. Byron Murphy, Boye Mafe, bro. And then you got DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side. He left the Cowboys because he said he wanted to win. And look what he's doing. He's in the Super Bowl the next damn year. Look at that. Sorry, Cowboys fan. Think, even with this revamped defensive line and the coach of Mike Vrabel, too many dogs on this defensive side for Seattle. So with the front seven, I'm leaning Seattle. With the secondary, I'm also leaning Seattle. Because on the New England Patriots side, there really isn't no notable names outside of shutdown corner Christian Gonzalez. And him by himself, I don't see him stopping JSN. But if he has help double teaming him, it could be a long night for JSN. Simple as that. And I think because the defensive side of the ball, I don't want to say is so much better than the Patriots defense, is why people are considering this game maybe a blowout in Seattle's favor. It's possible. They can take over this game. Considering Drake May is a young quarterback and a defensive coordinator for Seattle has absolutely crushed young quarterbacks. Quarterbacks under 23, I think, against this Seattle team, they're like, it's like 1 touchdown and 8 interceptions. It's not good. Exotic blitzes, umbrella coverages, good luck, Drake. But he has performed against tough defenses this year, Drake made it is. And he's also used his legs to do it. Also going to be in my betting tip, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap up these tiers, and we're going to get to that. Special teams for either team. Again, I have to lean Seattle. With the addition of Raheem Shaheed, bringing the ball back on kicks and punts, and his elite speed, he's shown to be a difference maker for Seattle. I'm leaning Seattle when it comes to special teams. I'm also leaning Seattle when it comes to kicker. Myers has been great all season, extremely accurate. This game is not suspected to have any weather attached to it outside of maybe a chill that comes off the bay there in Santa Clara. Nothing crazy. So when you go by unit, you see why the Seattle Seahawks team is so heavily favored. But where I think they do have the advantage, and the best advantage, is head coaching. Mike Vrabel has done so much more with less, dating back to Tennessee. It's been extremely remarkable. Coaching is extremely important in the sport of football, probably more than any other team sport, because coaching can either hinder or help your player development. Because once you make it to the NFL, more than likely you can ball. Now it's just about getting your technique right and putting in your positions to succeed. And I feel like Mike Vrabel puts his players in position more often than not to succeed and uses them to the best of their ability. So with coaching, I'm going to give slight advantage to the Patriots. And with that being said, that's going to solidify how I bet this game. Now I got some of my best bets coming up for you guys. Take them, use them as a guideline. Don't use them as biblical word. Now, if you like what you like, feel free to hammer it. Now, if you don't, make a spite bet. Man, this dude Coop doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm taking the opposite. I've won several bets going opposite of some people that I don't necessarily think are people who make good picks. So if you feel that way, I won't be offended. Hell, I won't even know unless you tell me. And I still won't be offended. All right, now, man, let's get into some picks because I know that's what you guys want to hear, man. All right, I got 10 picks that are good. You can take what you want, leave what you don't. This is just my thoughts and opinions of how the game flow is going to go and how you win some money off of it. You ready? Let's go. I'm going to fire them off. Jackson Smith and Jigba, we're going over 6.5 catches. Why? Just because he's a dog. Like, the only way Seattle's going to win this game is if he's the primary source of this offense. He's got to get involved early and often, and he's got to get some red zone touches. I'm going to get to my touchdown scorers here in a second, but yeah, over 6.5 catches for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Number 2, this one's going to shock a lot of people, but I think with the play action game from New England, over the top, Mac Hollins is going to be getting some passes downfield. Great jump ball receiver. Very limited opportunities, but he does make the best of those limited opportunities. So I'm going Mac Hollins' longest catch over 14.5 yards. Number 3, here we go. Stephon Diggs, ready? Over 43.5 receiving yards. Vrabel, when he was a assistant coach over at Ohio State, he tried to Stephon Diggs to Ohio State. He ultimately stayed home to play for the Maryland Terps. Go Terps. Huge fan of Stephon Diggs. They recruited him heavily in free agency. And they've used him well, another 1,000-yard season. Barely, I might say. But he got there. If Patriots going to be able to penetrate this defense, Stephon Diggs has got to get involved a lot more. He's an excellent route runner still. Probably one of the best in the game right now still. Also, he'll have some motivation. I believe Cardi B will be there. She may or may not be performing with Bad Bunny at halftime. Shout out to them. I can't wait for that. And plus, he just had a few babies. So I know he's motivated to get that Super Bowl bonus, possibly an MVP if he balls out. All right, here we go. Number 4, Ramondre Stevenson over 49.5 rushing yards. I think, and over 14.5 rushing attempts. Like I said earlier, they pay Ramondre Stevenson for a reason. Look, Vrabel likes him better, even though he's struggled with a fumbling problem. I think he's got that under control for the most part throughout the late part of the season. And they're going to have to try to keep it close with the run game and kind of burn clock. And then if they're leading in the second half, that just only solidifies this bet even more. But I think they're going to try to slow down, keep the game close in the first half, and then we open up the playbook in the second half and try to for those deeper throws. Ramondre Stevenson over 49.5 rushing yards and over 14.5 rushing attempts. He's averaged 14 on the season. That's a great line on attempts. And his rushing numbers have only increased with each playoff game here going on. No disrespect to Travion Henderson, but it just seems like the coaching staff likes him more, and he's a little more efficient runner for the most part for this Patriots team. But you do need 2 good backs to help get you far in the playoffs. It is what it is. or just period in the NFL. You need two good backs, man. You need that one elite rusher. You need somebody to come in that continue to run the ball well and give him a break. Number 5, good bet. Here we go. Hunter Henry over 3.5 catches. If the Patriots are going to beat them with the passing attack, it's going to have to be in between the numbers with the tight ends or with the running back, especially on downs when they're blitzing. Simple as that. Red zone work near midfield. In between the numbers is where Hunter Henry is going to have to thrive in this game. Number 6, here we go. Drake May over 6.5 rushing attempts. Now, I had to do some extensive research on this prop because Drake May, anytime he goes up against an elite defense, he tends to use his legs a lot more, and he's been proficient at it. And he's gotten a ton of yardage, and he's helped keep first downs alive with his legs. Unlike other rushing quarterbacks in the league, he's had more rushing first downs to keep drive alive than Joe Burrow, than Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. He led the league in that stat this year. So I'm going, even with the difficult defense, Drake May over 6.5 rushing attempts. Okay. Game flow play. Like I said, I think the first half is going to go under, so that's bet number 7. Bet number 7 is first half under, total point 23.5. We're going under in the first half. Subsequently, we're going over for the second half total. Second half total is 22.5. We're going over. This is going to be a second half game and possibly a shootout in the end, my prediction. All right, touchdown scorers. Here we go. Some of the easier ones that I like, of course, Kenneth Walker. But if you got to pay so much juice for Kenneth Walker at minus 195, you might as well just take JSN. You get almost even money for JSN. And it's a big-time red zone target, and they've used him a lot more lately in the red zone. So JSN, you get minus 110 on an anytime touchdown. Kenneth Walker's minus 195. You don't need to pay that much juice for Kenneth Walker. It more than likely is going to happen the most. Go somewhere, go JSN if you feel like Kenneth Walker. You know, the odds are just much better in your favor. Okay. Little more of a long shot in terms of anytime touchdown. Here we go. I like Hunter Henry plus 240. I feel like you should be getting more value here. It should be like 3 plus 350, maybe even 400 for Hunter Henry. But again, red zone work usage is there. The targets are there. Anything play action or, 5 yards in or less, he has an ability to catch a touchdown. Even longer shots here. I'm going to go Mac Hollins at plus 430. And Seattle defense. Maybe they take a pick 6 to the house or a fumble or something. They are plus 550. Mac Hollins is at plus 430. Again, some of these anytime touchdowns should have a little more juice to it, I feel like. I feel like they've been slimmed down in terms of regular season compared to regular season odds. Like if this was a regular season game, I think these numbers would be much higher. Okay. And ultimately, here we go. Ready? I do think Seattle wins this game, but you're paying 195, minus 195 on the money line, right? Patriots are going to cover this 4.5. They lose by a field goal. So I'm taking Patriots plus 4.5, and I'm taking the over on the total. It has been bet up to 45.5. I still think you're okay at 45, but if you can get it at 44.5, take it. Listen, man, this is going to be a great Super Bowl game. Totally excited. This is going to be one of those games that we might talk about for, decades to come. I'm not thinking overtime, but I'm thinking last possession, last play of the game. Who wants it more? And then in between the two halves, we got international superstar Bad Bunny, which is going to be great as well. It's going to be better than last year's, in my opinion, with the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef thing. I feel like it's going to be the most watched Super Bowl halftime since Michael Jackson, and an exception of the show. Just because Bad Bunny has that much international pull and that many eyeballs, not only here in the United States, but worldwide, is coming to see him perform on the world's biggest sports stage. Be on the lookout for that. You guys make sure you follow me on social media because I'm going to add some additional late game betting tips and tricks on my social media. I'll post it on my story on Instagram. I'll post on Twitter. I'll make sure to put the link in the description down below with all of that. And then you guys can follow me on every platform and also get this podcast on every platform besides YouTube. Now, you guys let me know down in the comments who you have in the Super Bowl, what bets you guys like, what you plan on taking. Let me know your best parlay, your main lay, your side lay, your coulda, woulda, shoulda, your long shots, anything. Help your fellow man out down in the comments because you may have found something or a line that may or may not be beneficial to the sports books. And let's make them all together, man, and win some money here. Today is actually the NBA trade deadline. I want to get into some of that stuff, but I'm going to probably do that on the next video where I do my Super Bowl recap. We'll talk trade deadlines, and then after that, it'll be officially basketball season once the Super Bowl is over, anyways. And we'll talk about going into the All-Star break, post All-Star break, what teams are going to look like, and then what's shaping up for the end of season run to go into the playoffs there for NBA. So we had some exciting trades too that went down. Harden to Cleveland, Anthony Davis to here to DC. It's been crazy. So we're going to talk about that on the next episode as well. And you guys let me know. And I'm probably going to have an old brother of the game if somebody blows this game. Running back that fumbles, Sam Darnold if he goes back pumpkin mode and just turns into a sloth again. I'm looking forward to it if somebody messes up tremendously here. All right. You guys let me know your picks down in the comments. Show some love, some betting tips. And I look forward to a great game. I'll see you next time on Oh Brother. Peace.